who are from the Central Asian republics, some who are Bosnian, Albanian. We have all these people. And we have to learn to work together. So Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam, who's described as very brown and tall, and him working with Talha, who another Arab was lighter than him. They weren't looking at these superficial differences. They worked together. So when you look at when the Muslims reached Spain, what did the Muslims look like that reached Spain? Well, they were Berber, they were Arab, they were a mixture of Berber and Arab. They were a little bit of everything. When you look at the Muslims of the past, like the Abbasids, you had Arab men marrying Armenian and Turkish women, Turkish men marrying Arab women, and all these other things. They were intermingling. They were mixing. And I remember one of the most striking things that happened to someone that came to me that said, I don't know why my daughter is resisting me, because we want her to only marry within her caste. She's resisting this. I don't understand why. And so my reply was to ask why that is. Well, because that's the way it's always been. I said, okay, so when the companions and others arrived in your country, and they arrived there, how were they able to marry into the women? Because the caste system was there. How could they have married the women? And the man sat and he thought, and he said, well, it must not have been there back then. I said, and that's right. And you know the Prophet ﷺ said, and every newly invented matter is an innovation, and every innovation is an estrangement. In the Sahih of Muslim. Conversation didn't go much further. But the point is there, and it's this. Brotherhood is one of the most important things. If you are really someone's brother, and you really care about them, you'll want what's best for them. You'll want what's best for them. If you're listening to a lecture, we need to help our people that have suffered in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, the earthquakes, flooding, everything else. Alhamdulillah. Do you still feel that same urgency when you hear it's in Cameroon, Darfur, West Africa? Do you feel that same urgency? Because if you don't, you have a disease in your heart. And that's just as 100% as I can be. I don't know how to, tact is not my strong, so I don't know what it is. So I just have to say it like this. If you are an Arab, Palestine, gotta look out. Our brothers in Palestine. But then when you look at those Turkish-looking people in Chechnya, how does your heart feel? What does your heart tell you? When you say Afghanistan, such and such, Bosnia, and these places, and then you hear about your brothers in Sao Paulo and Brazil, who aren't even allowed to pray in the masjids of the other people because they don't have the right background or the right language or everything else. Does your heart go out to them? If it doesn't, you have a disease. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Only the believers are brothers. Surah Al-Hujurat, 49th surah. So if you're really brothers, if you really mean it, you have to act like it. You have to mean it. And so your heart has to bleed just as much if you hear that an imam in the United States, in Detroit or Oakland's been gunned down by the police for stopping crack being distributed in his neighborhood by the police. Your heart has to bleed just as much for him as the other one who resembles you, whose language is the same as yours. You have to make sacrifices and show that you mean business. And in this way, people who come into Islam that are looking from the outside will stop calling it a Pakistani masjid or an Arab masjid, and they will just start being called masjids. But right now, that's what they're seeing because, and it's only natural, that there's that pull towards your own kind. But the question is not whether the pull is towards your own kind. The question is whether the pull is towards all the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that I've conveyed the message to you all. There is no Arab that is superior over one who is not an Arab. No one who's black is superior over white. No one white over black. But it is only taqwa. It is only taqwa. And people repeat these statements with that same tongue when they refuse the one that comes to their house to get married. Remember the words of the Prophet ﷺ. A Muslim sister was asking to get married, and the knock came at her door. Her family answered the door, and it was a man from Ethiopia, and they shut the door in his face. And the Muslim sister said, how can they reject what the Prophet ﷺ has brought about? What he has commanded. And so then the ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab, the 33rd surah was revealed. It is not right that a believing man or woman should seek a choice in any matter once it has been ordained. That means that that move was not acceptable. So when we say, yes, Islam is about equal rights, it's about serving everyone, it's about looking out for everyone. Islam is about freedom. And your wife is scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush. Islam is about looking out for everyone. Alhamdulillah, we love everyone. And the Jamaican man has asked for the hand of your daughter, and you say, no way. I'm not letting some colored guy here. You see, it's a contradiction. But when the Arab says, in polite conversation with me in Arabic, yeah, why are you always around these people? Who are these people? They're not even Arabs. We don't tell them anything. And they tell you to your face, we're Arab Muslims. You're not the proper Muslim. Because the Quran came down to us. If you have this type of way of thinking, you will never succeed. You must take Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam's idea, his principle, which is to be the best role model you can be, to carry Islam, and to never fear anyone but Allah. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا ورسولنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم أجمعين يا حميد الرحيمين. I realized I've spoken at some length. I wanted to give the opportunity, if anyone had any, of questions on what I've discussed about the companion, Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam, one of the 10 promised paradise. Is there any question about Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam or what I've discussed today? Is there any question about this? No?
Sure.
Yes?
I'm just curious, is it Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam and Talha radiallahu anhu, because I remember reading about two companions who were very good friends, and they both happened, death came to them at the same time.
Question is whether Az-Zubair ibn Al-Awwam and Talha ibn Ubaydullah were the two companions who death came to them at the same time because of their close friendship. I don't know the answer to that question. So inshallah I'll have to research that. The most I can say is just to reiterate that they were good friends, and when they saw each other in the battle, they withdrew from one another, but I'm not sure. We know that Talha did die in the Battle of the Camel. He did die in that battle. And that was on the same day that Az-Zubair was murdered as well. That's the most that I can say. Is there another question? Another question? Yes?
Was it the first child born in Medina?
Yes.
What was the child's name?
Abdullah ibn Az-Zubayr. The question is, who was the first child of the Muslims born in Medina from the Muhajirin, from the immigrants? That was Abdullah ibn Az-Zubayr. And he was one of the Khalifas of the Muslims as well. And he was killed by some of the tyrants of the Bani Umayyah. Yes. Is there another question? No? Okay. If there is no question, then we will close from here. Inshallah, we will be having some refreshments. So we ask brothers to remain with us while we wait for those refreshments. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك إنه غفور رحيم يا حميد الراحمين. O Allah, we ask that you accept from us this lecture that we've given today, and that the good of it that people can take, and the bad of it that they leave, because the mistakes are from us and all perfections from you, O Allah. O Allah, we ask that you bless this place that we're in, that you bless this masjid, and that those who are here come here and pray in congregation more often. And O